in Orleans Place Northeast. During the early of his business, Rayful used local motels to have a place to bag cocaine for retail on the strip of Morton's in Orleans Place. Products were dropped off on a daily basis to lieutenants that handed the products out to the runners.
In the early 80s, in the area of Morton and Orleans, it was like a drive-in store, basically. You drove up, got what you wanted. Both those were one-way streets, very narrow.
You can go around there day or night and just walk up and see those guys selling half ounces, whole ounces, 50s, 20s.
A lot of traffic going in and out constantly. It was just difficult to police until they put a lot of efforts into it.
Officer Marcello Muzzati used blown-up photographs of the area to describe the alleged drug activity. He said an alley between Morton and Orleans was littered with trash, sofas, refrigerators, motorcycles, and foot-high trip wires to slow down cops chasing after drug sellers. He said trash was removed from the alley twice daily, but that sometimes within the hour, more trash would take its place. Muzzati used a neighborhood residence apartment as an observation post, and one time he said he saw 40 to 50 drug transactions within an hour and a half. He said the cocaine was wrapped in newspaper in bundles about the size of golf balls. He said the suppliers would come out of 656 Orleans Place and toss 4 or 5 bundles of cocaine to the sellers. He said it was so busy that sometimes buyers had to wait for more bundles to come out. He identified the defendant as one of those distributing the cocaine and collecting the money from the sellers. He also identified the defendant, a brother of Rayful Edmond, as someone who drove through the neighborhood warning sellers that police were in the area.
Officer Muzzati also testified that he had seen another one of the defendants in the neighborhood. Muzzati said he would yell when police would enter the neighborhood. Muzzati said he would use the term olere, Pig Latin for rollers, which is a street term for police.
During the mid-'80s, Rayful was paying his runners in the range of $1,000 to $4,000 a week, so much so that everyone in the area wanted to be a part of his operation.
How much would he pay a 14-year-old to do a little street work for him?
It would vary. I mean, some of these kids would make $500 a night, sometimes they make $5,000 a week.
20-year-old said he bought large quantities of cocaine from Rayful Edmond to sell, paying $10,000 for half a kilo. The witness said he made so much money selling drugs, he wore a medallion with a 7.5-carat diamond, and he owned 7 cars by age 17. He was arrested by an undercover DEA agent and is now in federal prison serving a 12-year sentence for 2 counts of cocaine distribution.
And my job was, as an undercover officer, to infiltrate the Rayful Edmond organization. In certain instances, I would go to the house, purchase drugs, get to the highest point in his organization as I could. And that means starting low. I started buying drugs outside until I got close to whoever was in the house, and I could go in the house and buy drugs and talk to different runners and different mules in his organization.
In the mid-1980s, one of the many places where hustlers commonly ate was the Florida Avenue Grill. It was in 1986 when Rayful Edmond met a middle-aged white female by the name of Altaray Zanville outside of the Florida Avenue Grill. Zanville was selling jewelry on consignment on behalf of a downtown jewelry distributor. She attempted to sell Rayful a ring for $100. After purchasing the ring, Rayful gave the ring back to Zanville along with his beeper number, telling Zanville to give him a call.
It's Altaray Zanville, whom the defense is trying to attack and whom the prosecution is trying to protect. She came to Washington almost 30 years ago as a high school graduate and soon thereafter moved in with Al Zanville, who she married in 1970. She eventually moved into a crowd that she admitted in court yesterday could be described as hustlers, pimps, thieves, dope dealers, and narcotics addicts.
The first time when Rayful met Miss Zanville, I was with him when he met him. He was on Florida Avenue Grill on the red convertible Benz. I think she was selling jewelry back then. And she walked him over to the trunk of his car, pulled out a little plate of jewelry. That's when I walked over to look at the jewelry. I think it was some rings and some watches. And from that forth on, I always thought she was a jewelry seller.
I'm not quite sure why Rayful took such a liking to Ray Zanville, but after he met her, he did, and he relied on her very heavily for advice and help in selecting furniture, clothing, cars.
My distinct time being around them most times is like
'87 when Ray Leonard Haggard fight. We went to that fight. I got a chance to interact with her a little bit, talk to her. You know, so I always was kind of worried of her.
Rayful and Zanville quickly became close friends. Close enough that Zanville agreed to rent several apartments in her name to be used by Rayful. On several occasions, Rayful asked Zanville to hold large quantities of money. As their relationship progressed, Zanville became a local carrier for Rayful, transporting money between several locations.
At some point, she began to hold money for him, and she began to become closely involved with his drug distribution activities.
Next on the stand was Royal Brooks, who said he's known Rayful Edmond since they were together in the 7th grade. He said that Edmond supplied him with small amounts of cocaine that he sold on the streets of Greensboro while he was a student at North Carolina A&T University. He testified that after graduation, at Edmond's request, he started holding kilogram quantities of cocaine for Edmond.
With Royal Brooks having received his bachelor's degree in business administration, he returned back to Washington, D.C. Even though he had his college degree, Royal quickly realized that he could make more money with Rayful than in corporate America. So after agreeing to allow Rayful to use his apartment to store money and cocaine, Royal eventually became a carrier for Rayful. "1987 was the year on top. Rayful stepped off a plane in Las Vegas, Nevada, and into a whole new ballgame. On April 6, 1987, Rayful Edmond and his top lieutenant sat front row at the Sugar Ray Leonard Marvin Hagler fight. After the fight, Rayful and company returned to the Hilton Hotel where the Whispers were performing. There in the lobby of the Hilton, Rayful met a guy named Melvin Butler, a Los Angeles-based gang member with major contacts to Colombian drug cartels.
A jewelry appraiser from Los Angeles was asked about the value of a gold and diamond chain and medallion worn by Melvin Butler. Prosecutors say Butler was Edmond's West Coast cocaine connection. The appraiser said the medallion, which includes a 140-round cut diamond, is worth about $68,000.
After he met Melvin Butler, I'm saying, like I said, that fight of Vegas, that was like hitting the Powerball.
After the initial meeting, Rayful and Butler agreed to do business together. To determine how to best transport cocaine from LA to DC, they decided to do a test run. Rayful sent Royal Brooks to LA with a small package of money for cocaine. On the return trip, Melvin Butler gave Royal 16 kilos of coke, which Royal transported back to DC by hiding it between the clothes in his suitcase. Rayful's first purchase from Melvin Butler was for the amount of $2 million in exchange for 200 keys of coke. To transport the cocaine from Los Angeles to DC, Royal Brooks drove a 20-foot camper across the country.
I bought cocaine from which is, I think is his half brother, on 3 or 4 different occasions, and even had a talk with him about, you know, they had a big shipment coming in from Kentucky on a U-Haul truck, and that's a lot of drugs to be bringing into the city. I mean, that's some of the extent of how they were operating.
Look at my watch. I think it's about that time in the highway. Right. What I got the highway. Time to hit the road. We hit the highway. Monday through Friday. Up and down, back and forth. Getting money. Money on the young game. That's a damn shame. Meanwhile, we keep on getting money on the motherfucking highway. Monday through Friday. Up and down, back and forth. Getting money on the young game. That's a damn shame. And we gon' keep on getting money on the highway. Highway, Monday through Friday.
With the business growing, Rayful's organization grew as well. With such a large amount of cocaine coming into DC, Rayful was able to allocate a specified amount of cocaine for retail sale at Morton and Orleans Place, and for large quantity wholesale at Bate Street. This also required hired hands to cut and bag the coke for retail, which, knowing the shady nature of the business, Rayful relied on his friends and family With the drug epidemic on the rise during the mid-'80s, cocaine was widely available throughout the hood of every ghetto and suburb of every town. Although Zanville was just a bagger in the Edmonds organization, she eventually went out and started a small-scale cocaine operation. After requesting to be paid in the form of cocaine for her services instead of cash, Zanville received an ounce of cocaine for every key that was broken down into $50 and $100 bags for retail on the strip of Morton and Orleans Place. With frequent trips to LA, Royal was able to establish a close relationship with Melvin Butler. Although unknown to Rayful, Royal obtained surplus coke from Melvin, which he sold to his personal contacts in North Carolina. With the drug game changing, crack cocaine grew in popularity and decreased in price, making it more readily available for both new dealers willing to enter the drug game and addicts eager to pay less for a higher high.
Well, I think the epidemic of crack brought out the violence onto the street.
When the crack epidemic happened, I think Rayful lost total control now.
Crack actually began the spiral of violence in the city.
The new epidemic, however, was not bad for Rayful's business. Initially, Rayful was only able to move 200 keys a week. But by 1987, with the crack epidemic on the rise, he was able to move up to 2,000 kilos a week with gross profits up to $70 million. On a daily basis, Rayful had his carriers traveling to LA by plane with millions of dollars packed in suitcases, and carriers returning to DC in tractor trailers and trucks full of thousands of kilos of cocaine.
It was estimated that Rayful was bringing in about $30 million a month. And that's a lot of money to try to hide and launder and keep, and it's just a lot of money. You can't put it in the bank. You can't buy enough things. You can only buy so many cars.
Rayful Edmond III, the biggest drug dealer in the history of Washington, D.C., saw some $300 million a year worth of cocaine and crack.
The prosecutor said Edmond and 6 members of his family, who are among the 11 defendants, drove luxury cars, went on $50,000 shopping sprees in Washington's pricey Georgetown district, and flew to Las Vegas to watch a prize fight.
Shopping sprees that were extraordinary, to go in and spend $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 to take in a bevy of young people and say, essentially, pick out what you want, I'll pick up the tab.
U.S. Attorney says that you had huge amounts of cash that you were moving around, that you had Porsches, Jaguars, gold-plated hubcaps.
This is your watch.
Yeah, it used to be my watch.
Used to be your watch. The government now has this watch.
Yeah, the government own it now.
How much did this watch cost?
Close to $100,000.
Was this typical of what you would buy?
It's typical things that I would buy when I was home.
Well, you were fancy.
Yeah, I was real jazzy. Yeah, I like, try to have a lot of class.
Did you wear a lot of diamonds on your fingers?
I wasn't. I just had one carat. I just had a 10-carat diamond ring,
Oh,
a 3-carat for my ear, and just a diamond chain that matched the watch.
very simple.
Yeah, just simple but stand out.
As far as money, I mean, it wasn't no limit to him. I'm saying, for real, I think Puff must have seen the blueprint on him because we were doing that shit in the 80s. You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, we might go out of town. It's like in Vegas for the fight in 87. We might be in 5 rooms. He might book out 15 rooms. You know what I'm saying? Just so people won't even be complaining about noise beside us. You know what I'm saying? I remember one time at the Bullets game, they were the Bullets back then. He had a girl with him that was dating one of the guys that played the game. I don't remember the exact play. I want to say Moses, but don't hold me to it. You know what I'm saying? But I remember I was saying, man, that nigga getting money. He getting like $2 million. You don't want to see him. He was like, yeah, he getting that cross spread out over a year. What taxes get cut, taken out? You know what I'm saying? He said, I might get that in a couple of months or more. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no taxes. He was just like, man, these niggas ain't fucking with me. He was like, the average nigga in the league, they can't go home and just touch $4 or $5 billion in cash. You know what I'm saying? They gotta go right to banks and talk to their investors and, twist their money. So he was just, we be always at it with little shit like that. You know what I'm saying?
Man, living with Ray was unbelievable, man. For 2 years, I'm talking about from my socks to my drawers, I never wore the same thing twice, ever. I mean, after we wore it, we put it in the cleaners and gave it away, or we used to go in stores, buy everything by the bulk, shoes, sweatsuits. They used to close the store down for us and everything.
When we went shopping, I mean, it's like, I remember one time he gave me like $10,000 just to hold. And I guess he probably had like 10 or 20. That was just a hold so we can, matter of fact, we was going to a con. I mean, we spent about that damn joint, I spent about $15,000. Had bags galore. Then you might run into people that just know him and come up while we in the store, he buy them. I mean, this was like every day. You talking about 4 or 5 dudes that was just getting money. None of us drunk, you know what I'm saying? None of us smoke. So we really wasn't a dude from the far end wouldn't know what we was doing because we really wasn't busting bars like that because we didn't really drink. But Ray still just buy a whole rack of Dom Perignon bottles just because the bras like it, you know what I'm saying? They hang around and drinking or whatever. But you might fuck up 4 or 5, like $10,000 just on it and nobody don't even take a drink.
Every day for like 2 years, I seen him bring out like $20,000 a day and never take no money in the house. I mean, he give it away or spend it at the end of the day.
I seen him on New Year's, get like $100,000 at once and throw it up and had niggas that's getting real money on the ground trying to get it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we hung out in Houston's in the restaurant. I mean, that's where we stayed at. Georgetown every day. Father seen him go up Georgetown, they closed the store. You know what I'm saying? Lenny Boutique, you know what I'm saying? They were selling that sausage shit real strong. He might spend $30,000, $40,000 in there. I done say we might come to deep out of Eaton Houston. They might have a whole I-class chef for the glass. They was like 4 or 5 in the car. He'll buy all of them. Just might fuck up 20,000 in glass and just passing them out. You know what I'm saying? So I done seen them do it on a level when it's unbelievable. You know what I'm saying? Tips at restaurants and everything. It was unreal with him. It was down to chapter 3 and the dude Alpo pulled up. I didn't really know him, but I knew who he was. And me and Ray, I said, Ray, he got more money than you. He was like, who? I said, that dude Alpo. Ray was like, hell no. And they can't touch my money. He said he know he can't touch my money. And Alpo came over and spoke to him and was like, he showed Ray much love. I said, yeah, Ray got money.
Zanville's patience for being a simple bagger quickly ran short. In her side